does this mean to the world
Yeah.
that you have, for example, Vladimir Putin taking on a new role?
Yes.
I mean, in the scheme of things.
Right. Well, some people are joking that Vladimir Putin won 3 elections this year. One was the Brexit,
I
which is
agree.
leading to almost the disintegration of EU, or at least on the
Yeah.
surface, it puts a lot of question on whether EU can continue into coming decades. So definitely the exit of Britain is going to weaken the EU. The second, they would say even the Philippine elections.
Absolutely.
Because now you have a president who's very independent-minded, who's extremely interested in diversifying relations and sees Vladimir Putin as his idol, as his hero. Right? So this is another surprise elections that happened. And then the third one in the U.S., we have a lot of accusations against Russia that they tried to use hacking and other cyber warfare in order to tilt the balance against Hillary Clinton. Many are saying the WikiLeaks cable about the Clinton emails, among others, was due to Russian interference in American elections. And this is the kind of information you're getting from the National Security Agency in the United States. So far you have whole sorts of different leaders, populists around the world coming out. And guess what? All of them look up to Putin because they look at Putin as someone who's decisive, who's strong-willed, who can get things done. And he's not stifled by checks and imbalances, checks in terms of corruption and imbalances in terms of the judiciary and the legislative, preventing the executive from doing what it's doing. So if you look at Russia, for the past 2 decades, Putin has been the man to go through.
So what does this mean to the Philippines if we have closer ties with Russia?
Well, I think to begin with, we should have had a more diversified relations because if you look at Russia, I mean, this is a country that that has been among the biggest exporter of oil. I think 3 years ago, they were bigger than even Saudi Arabia, the number one exporter of oil and gas. They have so much reserves of oil and gas in Siberia, among others. They're looking at creating pipelines to South Korea and North Korea, among others. My point is, we could have bought more oil and gas from this country at discount rates. Remember, Russian economy is now in recession. They're in trouble. They're desperate for cash, and they're looking for new markets, and Southeast Asia is something they're looking at. So oil and gas exports is something that we can look at. And of course, their oil companies could also invest us and help us in terms of exploration of oil and gas if one day we push forward with developing reed bank.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, with Russia is armaments. They have what you can call first world quality with third world price. They give you very good high technology military equipment
for third world price.
But the prices are very competitive. So if you look at a lot of Asian countries from Vietnam to Malaysia, among others, they're buying Russian equipment, submarines, fighter jets, who are cheaper to maintain and cheaper to purchase. But of course, the question is, what are going to be the terms of payment? Because if the Russians are desperate for cash, they might ask the money forward. And the other thing is that if we buy military equipments from there, first of all, we have to train our people, so we have to send a lot of people to Moscow. So that means a whole range long-term reorientation in our military relations. The second thing is configuration, because 75% of our military is US.
Agree.
So you cannot like have a Samsung.
And they're not compatible.
Right, exactly. You cannot have an iPhone and Samsung and all put
Yeah.
together. So there should be some sort of a compatibility harmonization. So the military has to look at. But I think buying fighter jets or submarines or at least some sort of helicopters and small light arms for now is a good stepping stone moving forward.